Rome is well underway, and somehow we're not even done with the third round. But still, a lot has happened, namely Iga Swiatek suffering another disappointing exit on her favorite surface. I'll discuss the implications of her loss to Danielle Collins, and I'll also talk about Jannik Sinner's return from his suspension and Naomi Osaka's impressive run to round 4. Hey, I'm Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more Rome content. So yes, the defending Rome champion Iga Swiatek was bounced from the Foro Italico after suffering a 6-1, 7-5 defeat to the number 29 seed Danielle Collins. So this was their first match, Iga and Danielle's first match, since that whole Olympics drama from 2024 where Danielle essentially called Iga fake. Then Collins doubled down on it during the United Cup of this year, had the whole handshake gate with them shaking hands and Danielle giving a sarcastic look. But Danielle, she came out on a mission today. She was the one actually that had a chip on her shoulder, not Iga, which was a little bit unexpected. So Swiatek, her server's woes definitely continued here in this match. She made just 36% of her first serves in this opening set, which opened the door for Collins to apply pressure immediately with her attacking Iga's second serves. Danielle's first serve percentage of 55% wasn't all that great either, but Collins' ground game was solid enough to back up her sometimes shaky serving. Of course, Collins' backhand was money for her in this match, and it enabled her to maintain good court positioning and just overall in the court-to-court or ground stroke battles. The forehand of Collins was also solid, and she was able to extract some errors from Iga's sometimes shaky forehand too. Iga, she actually did not hold serve until 6-1, 2-1 in the second set, of course, which is a big problem. Giving her grace, though, Swiatek did serve better in the second set as she made 68% of her first serves in set number 2, and she won 68% of her first serve points. Honestly, I am surprised that Iga did not at least send this match into a decider. She had a few opportunities to really sink her teeth into the second set at least, as Danielle, she got broken in the first game of the second set after nearly holding from a love 40 deficit, and then Iga had a game point to consolidate that break, but Danielle battled back to break. And at 4-all, Swiatek had a couple break points to serve for the second set. Danielle saved the first one with a clean winner, and then on the second one, Iga will kick herself for this netted forehand. It nearly went over the net. And I think that miss in particular could have cost her this entire match. Danielle had a match point the following game at 5-4, but she wasn't able to convert. And I thought that after Iga came out of that service game, she would take control, but it was the opposite. Danielle completely steamrolled the match towards the end, and she won the last 8 of 10 points of the match. Credit to Collins for sure. She played a great match, probably one of her best, or probably the best match that she played this year. And I think she definitely caught Iga off guard with how well she started off the match. Iga was poor for sure, of course, but she did play better in the second set. And Collins, still got to give her credit again, matched her and came away with the win, just being the better player in the end. I think these stats for Danielle are beautiful. 32 winners to 13 unforced errors. Iga, of course, is not going to be happy with these stats, namely the 2 out of 10 breakpoint conversion. Collins' win is surprising to me. Yes, she did beat Iga one time, and that was 3 years ago at the 2022 Australian Open semifinals. And Collins, she did come close a few times. She did test Iga a few times, namely the Australian Open last year and also the Olympics in that quarterfinal. But a lot of these matches between her and Iga were straightforward in Iga's favor. This was also Collins' first red clay tournament of the year. She only played Charleston. That was her only clay tournament this season, and she opted to skip Madrid. She did make the semifinals here in Rome last year, so she does clearly enjoy the conditions here in Italy. But like one of my mutuals on Twitter, Shank said, Danielle just doesn't really need match play. She can just show up randomly and cause chaos, and that's what she did today. Talking about Iga, of course, it's another disappointing loss for her, especially against her op. She's not going to be happy with that. And this is Iga's earliest loss in Rome since her debut back in 2020, where she lost in the opening round. And she was the defending champion, of course, and she also won the tournament 3 times. Of course, she drops down to number 4 in the world, and it's the first time since March 2022 where she is not ranked in the top 2. So again, while it's a negative thing, I got to give it up to her for that, for staying in the top 2 for so long. She deserves her credit for that. That shows just how dominant she was all those years. Now Coco Gauff, she's going to be the second seed for Roland Garros after Jessica Pegula lost to Elisa Mertens in the third round. And Iga will likely be seeded at fourth, although she could drop down to number 5 if Jasmine Paolini ends up winning the whole Rome title. If this happens, that'll cause some crazy implications for Roland Garros, as I believe she could face Sabalenka in the quarterfinals. She could definitely, I believe, face Gauff in the quarterfinals too, as early as that round. But regardless, Iga at 4 could see her and Sabalenka on the same draw out of Slam since the 2022 U.S. Open. And it is a possibility that Swiatek drops outside the top 10 after Roland Garros too, because she's defending 2,000 points there as well. And the last time she, of course, made a final was at Roland Garros last year. All of Iga's losses since Eala in Miami have been concerning, in my opinion. The Eala match itself was very bad from Iga. Ostapenko and Stuttgart wasn't too terrible. Of course, Yolanda does have her number, but still, I think that was very winnable for Iga. I think she just completely went off the rails in that Gauff Madrid semifinal loss. And even some of her wins, like against Madison Keys, she got bageled in the opening set. And if it weren't for Keys just going like just nuclear, being baseball, Keys missing everything, then she could have lost to Keys in Madrid too. Iga lost 9 matches period in 2024. And we're in May. We're just in May. We're like halfway through the year. So not a good omen for Iga. And normally Swiatek does better in the opening rounds of tournaments. Like, she takes care of business in the early stages, and then when it gets to the quarterfinals and semifinals, she is a little bit shaky. She tails off with her form, and she was coming into this tournament winning or making at least 5 straight 1,000 quarterfinals, I believe, this season. Now she's kind of playing poor in the earlier rounds too, and that is not good. Swiatek told the press in the mix zone after the match, she said, "I'm doing something wrong, so I need to just regroup and change some stuff. I heard some ideas from my team, so I'll just try to do that in the next weeks." Speaking of the team, again, I'm wondering just how long Wim Fizette, the head coach, has until he's getting that meeting with HR, Dario Abramowitz, about company reorganization, aka layoffs. He's getting fired. I have said this over and over again. I don't believe the blame should be 100% on Wim, but he's just not helping his case when he's only saying things like play to win repeatedly during the match, and Iga clearly was not happy with that.
Possible to control.
Win. That's it. Very simple. Play to win.
And I feel like I rarely hear Wim say anything of actual value during Iga's matches. Someone asked on Twitter, is Iga still going to be the favorite for Roland Garros? Of course, she is the 4-time champion, 3-time defending champion, but she said herself that she does not expect herself to just magically regain form just from vibes and her knowing that she has played great tennis at Roland Garros just because she's had success in the past. And it's understandable why she feels that way, because she didn't have that happen here in Rome, where she's had great success in the past. I've also heard some people say that Iga needs to drop down and play like maybe 250 tournaments. Maybe she can take a wild card into Strasbourg or another tournament. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe she can benefit from that, maybe just getting her confidence back, getting some good wins. But then too, if she loses these matches or loses a match in a lower level tournament, that could just totally kill her confidence even more. I think footwork and movement is a major issue with Iga right now, and I think it could be tension related and related to mental. And I think it's an or thing with Swiatek. Maybe low-key, she was always like this and being prone to these losses, but she had enough moxie to get herself through and also kind of had an intimidation factor. Now that's totally out the window, and I feel like nearly everyone comes out on court believing that they can beat Iga. Let me know in the comments, y'all. Do you believe that first Iga is still the Roland Garros favorite? And then also, how far do you see Swiatek going for the year's second major? Now, up next for Danielle Collins is Elina Svitolina, who got a scrappy 6-4, 3-6, 6-4 win against rising American Haley Baptiste. That match was crazy. This whole little bottom section is fairly open, especially after the number 5 seed Madison Keys lost to her compatriot Peyton Stearns 7-6 in the third set. I think this could be a great opportunity for Naomi Osaka to make her second 1,000 quarterfinal in this maternity comeback. Now, Osaka has been the queen of the comebacks thus far in Rome, as first she had to come by Victoria Golubic in the second round, and she was returning to stay in the match. Golubic was leading her 6-2, 5-4, but she came back, and then most recently she beat Marie Boskova, came back from a set down, and ultimately won this match 4-6, 6-3, 6-3. Marie isn't ranked very high right now, but she's still not an easy out. She makes so many balls, is very consistent, and can be tough to beat, especially on these slower courts here in Rome, clay courts. Naomi played relatively within herself in this match, and the stats reflect a strong performance. She finished with 15 more winners than unforced errors, and she also improved her first serve percentage considerably compared to recent matches prior. Now, what's really notable for me is that since her comeback, like since she came back from giving birth, she was 0-16 after dropping the opening set last year, like since the comeback 2024. But since she hired Patrick, she's improved to 7-2 after dropping the first set, and that's huge. And I think that's going to be a big indicator for greater success down the road, because I felt that Osaka lost that crucial clutch gene. That's what made her so good. Like, she was so tough to close out because she could just come back with the snap of a finger. And a lot of these matches last year, she was just kind of laying down, not like she gave up, but just errors just did her in, and she wasn't able to problem solve. Now she's doing that tremendously, and I think that'll be major in her coming out on top of these tight slam matches like with Iga, Roland Garros, or Muhova US Open. Osaka is now on an 8-match win streak, including that St. Malo 125 title run, and again, that is just such a smart decision from her, and it's clearly paid off wonders, and now she's in back-to-back Rome 4th rounds. Peyton Stearns, Osaka's next opponent for round 4, is not going to be a walk in the park by any means, and neither would Alida Svitolina or Danielle Collins. But I think if Osaka continues to play like how she's been playing, she can win and make the semifinals. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but Naomi, I think, will be seeded if she were to go ahead and make the final in Rome, which is still doable to me, in my opinion. Again, it's a long way ahead. Got to go match by match. But the other little top section is open as well, even though all 4 women are seeded. Up top, there's a mouthwatering clash between Jasmine Paolini and Yelena Ostapenko. Then there's Princess Diana Schneider, who recently split with Dinara Safina after only working together with 1 month, actually. And she's playing now Elisa Mertens in the 4th round, who, of course, beat Pegula 7-5, 6-1. And that's not a surprise to me at all. I actually called that before the tournament because first, Mertens has a great head-to-head against Pegula, now 4-1, and Jessie has a little bit of injury concerns, as she revealed after her Madrid loss. Now, real quick, before I talk about the men's action, I want to briefly highlight some women's doubles a bit. The star-studded duo of Coco Gauff and Alex Eala played their first match together as a team in Rome, and they defeated Alexandra Panova and Fanny Stolar 6-3, 6-1. Coco and Alex started the match a little bit nip and tuck at first, but they just ultimately ran away with it, and they won the final 6 games of the match. Panova and Stolar just didn't have the moxie to match Gauff and Eala. They just were not as solid and consistent from the ground, and Coco and Alex really ate them up in pretty much every department. Eala was on point with her return. Coco was too, and I think Gauff, being the more experienced doubles player at this high level, high-key carried, to be honest, but I think for their first match together, they did a great job. And I believe, I'm like 90% sure that this was Alex's first tour level, like, main WTA win. So congrats to her for that. Next up for Gauff Eala is newly Italian Tyra Grant and her fellow compatriot Lisa Pigato. Now, finally talking about the men, Jannik Sinner, of course, is the big star on the men's side at Rome this year. Jannik played his first match since his 3-month doping suspension, and I feel like he intentionally wore black out there because it's like a funeral for the rest of the ATP, because he's coming back to lay these to rest. He got the W, defeating Mariano Navone 6-3, 6-4. Overall, it was a solid performance from Jannik, especially considering that he was out of action for so long. Navone is a solid clay player, and he made multiple clay finals last season and was seeded at Roland Garros, so he's definitely a dangerous out. And I think it was a perfect kind of way for Sinner to work his way back into match play. I think that Navone, he had his chances to make this even more of a match. He had an early break point at 1-all in the opening set, but Jannik snuffed it out just due to clutch play and serving. Navone, he didn't have another break point look until 2-1 in the second set. He couldn't convert that one, but he was able to break back at 4-3 right after Jannik broke him. But still, Jannik was simply too good for Mariano in the end. And his stats were solid. He ended up with 21 winners to 24 unforced errors. Sinner did. And I thought it was interesting, too, that he won 68% of second serve points, and that's 5 percentage points higher than his first serve points, 1 percentage. I think his kick serve is going to be more effective on the clay. And I think clay, while it might not be his best surface, I think that'll always be hard for him. He's still pretty darn good on the dirt. And again, I feel like he low-key was very, very close to winning Roland Garros last year if he had beaten Alcaraz in that tight 5-set semifinal. I think Jannik is going to be a little bit more scary now because he has his whole doping saga behind him. He can be a little bit more free and at ease. And again, the tour should be scared because he's coming for his things now. I think another cool takeaway was just the pandemonium surrounding Sinner. Even before he came out to play the match, Like, so many people swarming the practice courts to watch him play. Like, it's just great to see. Of course, it's going to happen because he's Italian, and this is the Italian Open, and he's their best player. And this is Jannik's first time playing in his home tournament since becoming a Slam champion. So seeing him be like received like that, I like to see that. And I feel like he's like the athlete in Italy right now. Next up for Jannik is the lucky loser Jesper De Jong, who shocked me with a love and 2 beatdown over Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, because Fokina had been playing well all season. I think the biggest threat here for Jannik in this little section is obviously Francisco Cerundolo, although Fran is high-key a choke artist, so I don't know if he'll even be able to get over the hump and beat Jannik in this one. We also see Sebastian Offner there. He beat Francis Tiafoe in 3 sets, and it just was not a great day for the Americans, to be honest. Aside from Francis, the highest-ranked man repping the Stars and Stripes, Taylor Fritz, lost to compatriot Marcos Giron in 2 tiebreak sets. And Taylor, he led Marcos 4-love, 40-15 in the second set, which is not good. This has not been a great season by Taylor's standards at all. I know he was injured. He's been dealing with injury throughout much of the year, but his only one good tournament was Miami, where he made the semifinals, so not good signs for him. Ben Shelton, meanwhile, he lost to Johnny Munar in straight sets for the second time this season. This time he only won 3 games, and clearly Munar has his number. Tommy Paul and Sebi Korda did get wins though in a straight set, so that's good at least. Paul, he now has a tough match though in Thomas Mahach, who beat another American in round 2 in Lerner Tien 4-4. Meanwhile, Sebastian Korda, he now plays Johnny Munar next, who of course beat Shelton. Other than that, there haven't been many upsets on the men's side, like big upsets, at least today, aside from Andrei Rublev losing to Fabian Marozsan, who beat Joao Fonseca in the second round. I think that Marat Safin partnership is definitely not going as well as we thought it would, so I don't know how long that'll last, to be honest. That is all I have for this Rome recap video, and let me know your thoughts again on Iga and whether you think that there is soon light at the end of the tunnel for her. Also, let me know your thoughts on Gauff Eala doubles, Sinner's return, and if you think Naomi does have a solid chance at going deeper in Rome and possibly going all the way to the final. Again, make sure you all subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post my next Rome recap video. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.